Hey, good evening. It's Friday, September 20th. Welcome back to Everyday Talk 24/7. I've been spending some time talking about don't be taken captive. Well, tonight, I want to talk about three things that you and I must take captive. And Paul gives us a positive basis for this in 2 Corinthians. It's really the bookend to Colossians 2:8. Where, as we said, Colossians 2:8 is don't be taken captive by false things that don't depend upon Christ. But then, in 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5, he says this, and this is a larger section, might get into, but right now I'm just going to look at the verse 5 towards the end. He says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. That's what Paul is talking about in Colossians. It sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. We take captive every thought to make it obedience to Christ. Well, we're going to have three thoughts to take captive tonight. And there are many, many more, but I'm just going to start with these three because they're so basic to us. The first is the weather. As you know, I talk about the weather a lot here. But weather is not random. Weather is not something that happens because of what we do. Weather is what happens because of what God does. We've looked at Job 37 and other places extensively, where the clouds move at God's direction. They bring rain, or they bring drought. And the rain may bring blessing to nourish the land, or it may bring floods to punish the land. But it's not random. And to punish people, it's not random. God is behind this. He's doing this. We can't allow the world to take us captive by telling us that the weather is something that we do or that it's random. Rather, we take these thoughts back, we take them captive because we know that God is in control of the weather, even the rain that comes. So that's the first thing. We take back weather and we take it captive to what the Word of God teaches us. Secondly, again, we talked about this recently too, elections and politics and government. These things are all happening at the direction of God. Remember, we looked at places like Daniel 4 and Colossians 1, where Jesus is ruler of everything. He's the one who sets up every authority. Every elected official is there because Jesus wants them there. It may be to bring blessing, it may to bring judgment, but it's because of what Jesus wants. So in the broader sense, the movement of human history, the affairs of this world around us, they're not random. God controls all of those things. And He's going to bring blessing, He's going to bring judgment, He's going to be faithful to His people. He's going to be faithful to His purpose of bringing people to Christ. Don't let the world take you captive by thinking that the elections are something that we have no control over. We don't, but God does. They aren't random. We can be comforted by that. So that's the second area we've got to take captive. We've got to take captive the weather, thoughts about the weather. We've got to take captive the elections and politics and world government. And then the third area we've got to take back is the area of words, of language. Language, the words that we use, are a specific gift of God to us. And the words that we have are to direct us to God. God chose to communicate with us through words. It's not random. Language is not the result of an evolutionary pattern where we started off, grunting in caves and evolved to language. No, language is something that God built into man from the beginning. You read Genesis, the very first people are not communicating in grunts and sign language. They are communicating in sophisticated, thoughtful ideas, some for good, some for bad. But language, it's a gift of God. so that we can reach out to him and know him and communicate with him, so that we can know where we need to walk in such a way that bring honor in him, to him in this world, so we can bless each other, so we can lead our children in ways of faithfulness. That's not random. We just didn't happen to evolve. Oh, now we're speaking language. Now we can have a Bible. Now we can talk. Now we have all this great literature. All those things come because of the specific purpose and plan of God. We need to use our words wisely. Otherwise, as James says, we're going to ignite forest fires, relational forest fires, everywhere we go. Words are to be used the way God gave them to be used because they're his gift to us. We didn't formulate words. We didn't come up with the idea of words. God gave them to us and the capacity to think that way. See, those are three things we have got to take captive. So Paul is saying here, we demolish the arguments of this world. Every pretension that sets itself against the knowledge of God. See, if it's not coming from God, it's coming against God. None of these things are random. They are used specifically to bring honor to God and to bless us. Those are things that we have got to obey Paul here and take these thoughts captive. Because if we don't take them captive, then what Paul warns us about in Colossians will happen. We'll be taken captive. And there are other areas. Maybe you have a question about those, want me to address that. I'd love to hear from you. We have got to be taking things captive to avoid being taken captive. In these three areas, the weather, election and politics, and the words that we use, let's take them captive for the honor and glory of God. And that's the thought for this night on Friday. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. You have a great night. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.